the idea of subscribing to something in the comics market is so absolutely impossible to deal with. And it's a thing that there are no good practices on it because no other market has to deal with it.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
We had our usual tactic of making the story get busy by sheer force of will.
Sure.
By
working on projects.
Starting a big project, yeah.
Specifically a big project on the sales floor. That's usually what kicks it off.
For
like
sure.
If you're doing something behind the counter, like if I'm working on, Shopify or eBay, or if I'm working on paperwork, or if I'm doing flyers or whatever, like none of that will move the needle. The second I'm like, you know what, I'm going to start, spacing out the graphic novels. 12 people come in who need to look at the graphic novels. Okay, great.
And of course, it always works that if you bring the phone with you, it never rings.
Right.
If you don't,
immediately,
the second you get set up to do your thing, it starts ringing.
The second you are the furthest you can be from the phone, either in the back room of Sidekicks or all the way in the back by the new releases, that's when the phone rings.
We had the same number call like 3 or 4 times today, and there was never anybody there.
Weird.
But at the point you say, hey, look, I can't hear anything, it's just dead silent, you hear it hang up. Huh. So clearly somebody was there.
Weird.
I didn't care that much. We keep having the same problem with online sales.
It's true.
Where people keep choosing curbside pickup when they, in fact, need it to be shipped and they live in another state.
Yep.
And I've never bought anything from our website, but I need to figure out why. Why does everybody do that? Like, it's got to be a fundamental issue with the system that people don't see.
I don't think it's that. I think
they see, it's zero shipping. Yeah, zero shipping means you're picking it up.
I've mentioned this before. When you buy a t-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees, which is in our neighborhood, and you choose in-store pickup, there are at least 2 different times you have to confirm that you know that this is not free shipping, that you are going to pick it up at their storefront. And the reason they make you do it 2 times is probably because they had a ton of people who were just like, I'll take the zero shipping option. Sure. That must be just slower. It's like, no, it's specifically an in-store pickup thing. I wish Shopify was structured in a way where we could just have the initial, in-store pickup or shipping and then move on to all the shipping fees and form fill-outs and all that stuff. But Shopify, almost 3 years later, still won't let you do that. They still don't know how to do that. I get notifications every few weeks from someone posting to the thread I started in early 2020 that said, hey, why can't we do this? And Shopify has still never made it a priority or figured out how to make it work, so that's great. What we can do, and I think I've mentioned this before, is we can turn off express payments.
Yeah.
Which should... we could try doing that, and then it basically means people have to log in their payment information every single time.
Yeah, but only if it's not saved differently. Like,
so I don't know if
let me just say that, like, when I go to buy something online, Express Pay comes up as the option, but if I don't use that, my browser still autofills everything for me, which is not Express Pay. That's just your browser.
Right, and I honestly don't know. I'd have to turn it off and then play around with it from the consumer side, which is difficult.
Have you tried turning it off and back on again?
Thank you. I don't know if turning off the express payments option, which is, for like Apple Pay and Google Pay and PayPal, if turning off the express option still lets you use those payments to check out. Because we'd obviously want people to still be able to use that. We don't want to make it a situation where you can only use your credit card.
Yeah.
That's not good. So I'll have to play around with it at some point.
I was talking with Nina from Black River Barbershop, and they have a specific problem with American Express cards.
Okay.
Where because they are a service industry shop, we are a retail establishment.
Sure.
We do provide a service. They also sell things. They sell product. They sell hair care product.
Okay.
So if somebody gets a haircut,
okay,
and then says, "Oh, I want to buy this bottle of hair toner as well,
Okay.
then the transaction has a sale on it. So when somebody goes to leave a tip for a haircut, Amex bounces it because you don't leave tips for retail purchases. It's not. It's a conjoined service with a product added on. But Amex always kicks it back. If you try to pay for Amex when you're buying something at a salon, your Amex will be like, nope, not going to do it.
It's especially weird because you absolutely can tip for products instead of services.
Sure, but can you at Amex through Square?
Oh, I mean, I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying, like, the theory that Amex seems to be working under that you can't tip on products is ridiculous because you absolutely can. Like when I go to pick up food someplace.
Yeah.
It's not a service. Like, they aren't mowing a lawn or something.
Yeah, but
it's
I mean,
a product.
but that's coded differently.
But that's the thing. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference?
What is also a difference with them, and I think it's a Amex thing specifically, is if you no-show your appointment, you know how you need to give a full day's notice or whatever, like anywhere, any salon, any doctor appointment, anything like that.
Right.
You know, they have established rules where if you don't show up,
you're going
to get charged.
Yeah.
So if they charge you and you say, I didn't go there, they win every time.
That's how it is with most companies. I mean, like, as a business, we've had people dispute charges in the sense of, like, they ordered something, they weren't happy with it, and then when we wouldn't refund them, they made a dispute with PayPal or whoever. And it just happened recently, and it was a situation where we had shipped something out to someone.
To the address exactly as they gave it.
I was going to say, to the address they provided.
Oh, no, I was just emphasizing that. I'm not correcting your story. I'm just hammering that home.
Sure. And basically they said...
I'm the color man, if you will.
The post office delivered it to the wrong address. And we said, okay, well, you can take it up with the post office then. You paid for insurance. You can contact the post office and do all this stuff. And they were saying, like, no, you contact the post office. And it's like, okay, we did everything on our end. The things that you have to dispute this, to say that you didn't receive it, I can't go to the post office and say, this guy told me he didn't receive it. You need to go to the post office and say, I didn't receive it.
And they had also talked to someone else at the post office to find out that it was misdelivered.
Right.
And then they said, the post office told me you have to do it.
Right.
So they've already talked to the post office.
Which
no, you have that relationship.
Which is ridiculous. Like, you absolutely, if you are someone who's paid for priority mail shipping and have it insured, it is not something only the sender can do. The recipient can also file a case with the USPS to either, find a package that's been lost or replace a package that's been damaged.
I can tell you that historically, when I've sent out statues and things, when I used to eBay my statues, one occasion a Sandman bookend set was broken in the mail, and they're like, hey, it's broken. I'm like, well, good news, you paid for insurance and everything else. Here's all the information. You have to file the claim. I can't file the claim and say you broke it. I don't even have it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you have to take pictures.
The
you have to explain it.
has to file the claim.
Right. There is a limit to what the sender can do as far as the information they have available to them, because the United States Postal Service, if you're going to file an insurance claim, wants to know details. And depending on what happened to the package, if it gets lost, yeah, the sender can absolutely say, like, look, here's everything I sent to you. You guys never delivered it. Like, they can't find it in the system or whatever.
Yeah.
But if it arrived damaged, like, okay, you paid for insurance. So anyway, in this instance, it was clearly misdelivered.
Which they knew,
and they had all the information, and they basically said, like, okay, you do something about it. And it's like, no, you have all the information. Here's the link to go to fill in all the information that you have.
Yeah, you even sent them the link. You even sent them the link.
To solve this problem in your favor. And instead of doing that, they opened, like, basically they said, instead of doing that, they wanted us to either refund them entirely or replace the product. And it's like, well, we can't replace the product because it's out of print. And we're not refunding you because we would have to then open the same case with less information than you already have to get our money back for this. Like, we didn't do anything wrong in this process. It is, you didn't get it delivered correctly from the United States Postal Service. You need to contact them
and to fair,
solve this problem.
They did have a weird little, it's not like, hey, here's my address. It's like, no, deliver it to this specific door around this corner.
Yeah, so anyway, long story short, in lieu of doing anything to solve the problem on their end, they, A, tried to make it our problem, and then B, opened a PayPal case where they reiterated that we had done everything correctly and then wouldn't solve the problem for them. And so when PayPal was like, well, what evidence do you have, challengers, to support your claim? And it was basically like, everything this person just said is kind of our proof that this is not our problem to solve. A week later, they decided in the customer's favor. Yeah, I was going to say plaintiff or something. I don't know.
Yeah, plaintiff.
Yeah.
So we had to pay?
Yeah. No, we didn't even have to pay. They just took it out of our account.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how that got resolved.
Yeah. I never asked you about that because I figured if it was good, you would have told me.
No, it happens all the time. Nearly any instance where like we've had an eBay transaction where someone was unhappy, despite how clearly we could point to things in our listing or photos or anything, like if they're unhappy, eBay's just going to give them their money back at the end. Like there's almost nothing you can do. I can't ever think of an instance, regardless of, how open to interpretation it might be, whether it's open and shut or, well, we could differ. It doesn't matter. Like they're always going to rule in favor of the customer, not the seller.
And wasn't it really weird that they filed a claim like 10 minutes before you got tracking that said it was delivered? Something along those lines?
No, that's when they contacted us. Like basically, like it said it was delivered to the wrong address, and within like 10 minutes, we had gotten an email from the person explaining all of their weird phone calls with USPS and how they wanted us to solve this problem. And it was like, this just happened. Like, do you want to maybe wait and see what USPS says? Like, how did this all happen so quickly? And then it was like, no, well, they said it was, tried to deliver it this time, but really we knew back an hour ago. It's like, all right, whatever. Like, everything seemed kind of shady, but in general, it was just, this was a problem that they could have solved, and they decided not to. Instead, they just made us pay for it.
They solved it for themselves?
Sure shit did.
So this is just a purchase off the website, right?
Yeah.
Do we have a list?
A list?
That their name is on?
It can be. I doubt they're ever going to order from us again.
Why not? Look how well it worked out for them.
It really didn't.
They probably got the free stuff, too. They probably walked around the corner and got it.
Sure, okay.
I'm just saying.
I don't even know how to blacklist anybody. I'm sure we could try and figure it out, but it definitely seems like more trouble than it's worth.
It's not like eBay where it's very easy and
you
have
a
lengthy list.
Any instance where I've had a negative interaction with someone trying to buy something from us on eBay, whether it's a transaction that was uncomfortable or irritating, or just a person who burned us on winning an auction and then not paying for it, they just go on a list of people that I block from all of our sales, which is nice sometimes because occasionally, months or years down the line, they'll contact me and be like, hey, you blocked me. Like, I wanted a bid on this thing. Can you unblock me? And the joke of it is that I usually can't remember why I blocked them. It's just a screen name.
Sure.
But I always defer to Pastel in those situations.
Yeah, you did it for a reason.
Pastel clearly had a reason to do it, and I believe in him, so I just go, no, I'm not unblocking you.
Do you tell them, or you just don't?
And I tell them, no, I'm not unblocking you.
Fair.
The only people I ignore are people who ask for more photos for something.
Yeah.
Or complain about postage shipping costs. Those people I just ignore.
For people that didn't even bid on anything? Just...
Sometimes it's early in an auction. Sometimes the ones that are the most irritating are the people who, like, an hour before an auction closes, can you take more pictures of the back? Like, man, the time to do that was 6 days ago.
Also, you still wouldn't.
Yeah, I also still wouldn't. But it's still a thing of, like, an hour before the auction ends, that's when you're like, I need more information. Like, no, absolutely not. If it was 3 or 4 days before, maybe I got a couple minutes and I'll take care of it. But when it's an hour before... Usually it's because I'm like eating dinner an hour before the auctions close on eBay. And no, I'm not going to go take a photo of a book so you can decide if you want to bid on it. Nope. You waited too long.
Sometimes you can't really tell, not intent so much, but tone. As in the transaction today was somebody who ordered something who lives in a different state.
Yep.
And it was already, labeled and set aside for them to come pick up curbside. I sent them here's a curbside. And then they sent an email back saying... Like, basically, you got this wrong. I did not choose curbside pickup. I mean... I don't even live in this state.
That was the tone that I read it with, but that wasn't really how they wrote it.
No, I mean...
Sure.
How did I start this whole thing?
Okay, I didn't know if you were trying to say that was how they were saying
it. No, I'm saying you can't understand tone. So, I reacted that way as well and took a screenshot like, you 100% chose curbside pickup. Here it is. Yeah. But, if you didn't mean that to happen, I can send you out this email. And they just responded with... thanks, sorry.
Yeah, I mean...
Which honestly never said, yes, send me the shipping, but I did anyway, just to see.
Yeah, I think in the first one, my gut reaction was like, man, like, you did this. We didn't do this, you did this.
Yeah.
But then I took a breath and I read what they were saying, and I think it was really more of like, hey, I just want to clarify, like, I'm not picking this up. Like, I would have paid for shipping, but it didn't give me the option, which is not true.
I don't think they said they would have paid for shipping. They just said, like, no, I selected free shipping.
I mean, I could...
Or something like it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all fine. Nobody was angry. I was very nice in my reply.
It all worked out.
And yeah, it's fine. But like,
it is a recurring thing where every couple weeks we'll get somebody who will order something and it's like, this was not free shipping. This was curbside pickup. Like, I wish I didn't have to offer curbside pickup within shipping. I know that it can be confusing to people.
Yeah.
It's the only way we can offer different payment options and provide for people locally who want to come pick something up. I wish, again, 2+ years of complaining to Shopify about it and them not fixing it. But that's Shopify for you.
So what do you think, 3 years? They got to it 3 years?
I don't think they're ever going to get to it. I think if they were going to get to it, they would have gotten to it by now. And people can keep posting that thread in the forum, but it's just never going to happen. I don't know why it can't. I have suspicions that it's just how express payments work, where doing it, there is no logic within there that says, like, okay, but you can't ship it. You have to hold it at the store. Like, it's just not how the system works. Because they've said that you, the individual store, because you're experts in coding in websites, you can make changes to the code to put the one function ahead of the other function to allow people to do it. But Shopify can't do that. It's just like, I don't understand why Shopify... Like, if it's possible in the code to make question A happen after question B, why can't Shopify just do that at their level? Do they not understand how to code their website?
They don't want to.
I don't know. It's
They're
very
eating dinner.
weird.
They're going to take photos of their code.
They definitely have developers and programmers, because we're constantly finding them changing things in a way that makes the services less usable.
Man.
But
that was a thing from last week that we forgot to really complain about.
So dumb. It's colossally dumb.
We were having...
Colossal, like the size of the tiles on the POS
We were
screen.
having an issue with something on Shopify that Wednesday. Something wasn't working right, and you had stepped out, and I noticed that there was an update available. Mm-hmm. And you know, how often is the problem you're having with your Apple TV or whatever because you're not running the newest model?
Pretty often.
So it's like, okay, let's update this, and maybe that'll solve the problem that we were having.
Sure.
I honestly can't remember what the problem was.
Yeah, I don't think you guys mentioned it, because when I came back, you just said, we did an update, and...
Well, but I mean, it was a problem before you left. It was a problem we were all having. We're just trying to... Anyway, so we did an update, and it was basically, as far as we can tell, we don't know the behind-the-scenes stuff, it was almost all cosmetic.
There's one thing I've noticed in the aftermath that I'll bring up after this that I actually like. It's one change where I'm like, oh, that actually... They didn't explain it, and it took us like half a day on Sunday to figure out that it was actually a good thing, but they did make a change I liked.
We don't get build notes or developer notes as to, hey, here's the changes with this update.
No, like a lot of things that are apps, it's just, if you go to the App Store for the update, there'll be a little change log that'll say, like, here's things that here's what this new update does.
Previous to the update, the interface that we dealt with, the screen that we look at to ring people up, had on the left side 2 rows of tiles. Or what else do they call them?
Well, that side is called the smart grid, but they are called tiles.
Okay.
And each tile can be like a program, or it can be a function. Like, it can be something where it brings up a list of customers so we can add a customer to an order, or it could be a thing where we add a global discount, or it could be an individual item, like if we wanted to ring up 8 Billion Genies Anniversary variant, we could just hit that tile and it adds it in.
Just link buttons.
Yeah. Sometimes it's programs outside Shopify POS, like Managed Comics. We hit a tile and it gives us all the functionality of the Managed Comics app.
And the tiles were horizontal rectangles. Think of like a return label for a letter. You know, like that kind of...
Like a return address.
Yeah, like a 1 inch by like 3 inches kind of thing, as a scale example.
Yeah, wider than they are tall.
Yeah. So the update changed the height of the tiles to more than almost square.
Basically squares.
Yeah, not exactly, but basically squares. So that means you can suddenly fit half as many on the screen.
Yep.
Oh, don't worry, you can scroll down to get more if you wanted to.
And you can scroll to the right to add more pages, which is not useful.
It's completely unnecessary to change the shape and size of the tiles, and also have it that the individual users cannot change it themselves.
Yeah, to just make the square size a default and unchangeable is weird. Like, if you were offering it as an option, where it defaulted to that, but then you could revert it to just rectangles instead of squares, great. I'm all for more options. But this is the opposite of that. This is Shopify deciding, no, they should be squares.
It's not customization, it's them telling you what it has to be.
Thanks, but no thanks.
So we immediately started trying to get to the bottom of this, and the easiest way was to follow like Shopify help and developers and whatnot on Twitter.
Yeah, just their support
They
account.
would respond. It's funny, you can follow the Shopify devs. Mm-hmm. You cannot message them.
No, they don't want you messaging them.
Nope. So basically, they were saying, don't worry, there's reasons for everything we did. We just don't know what they are. And no, you can never change it back.
Yeah, I mean, the reach out for us was basically like, is this a bug? How do we fix this? How do we turn this off? And then it was like, no, it's not a bug. That's just what happened. They couldn't explain the logic behind it at all. But they said they would pass along to the devs that we hated it and we wished we could change it back.
What I found entertaining about that whole exchange is that it was both of us at different times. So the attitude changed. Mm-hmm. Like when it was you talking to them, it was, hey, here's the concerns we have and here's why it doesn't work for us. And it'd be really helpful if you could, give us reasoning. And then mine is just like, this dumb, you stupid.
I mean, I think they were saying the same thing, though.
Yeah, I know. But the tone was very schizophrenic.
Yeah. So the one thing that they did change that I sort of like, we were having this issue on Sunday, Molly Jane and I, when we were scanning graphic novel barcodes, where occasionally we'd hit a barcode where, like, the barcode scanner would sort of vibrate and beep in a weird way.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't put anything on the screen. Like, it wouldn't read it literally would not read the barcode. It wouldn't pass it along to the point of sale screen. And we've had instances before where the barcode is incorrect or doesn't bring up an item, but there's a little message at the top that says, like, hey, this item isn't in your database, and you dismiss it or whatever. And we couldn't figure out what was happening. Like, why is it freaking out? Is there something wrong with the barcode scanner? And eventually we figured out that's how point of sale deals with items that are not in the database anymore. It doesn't do that little dismiss thing.
Right, it gives you that beep.
It gives you that little beep and that vibration to say, hey, this is not in the system. Which is actually kind of good, because occasionally when we would be ringing people up, if we weren't looking at the screen while we were scanning stuff, because you can't look in two places at once, you're trying to look at the barcode to scan it correctly.
And whether it scans or not, you still get a beep.
Right. So it would beep if it got a fraction of the barcode, and then it didn't bring up the correct item because it didn't scan the whole barcode. Now, you can honestly just look at the barcodes. If unless you get that little weird vibration, like, it scanned it, it found it. And I think that's kind of neat. I think that's actually a little better. It's taking some getting used to, because I still want to keep looking at the screen out of fear that I'm not getting everything. But yeah, I mean, if the tactile experience is very different, and the auditory experience is very different. Like, you are notified that it is not getting the barcode. So yeah,
it's good. Weird because I figured that out right away on Friday.
Oh, you should have said something.
I didn't know that it was a thing you were concerned by.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that was not in any of the patch notes that they had put on that update, and it does look different now. Like, it doesn't.
Wait,
have
they give you patch notes?
That's what I said. Like, if you go to the app screen on the App Store, it'll tell you, like, the most recent update. Like, here's what we changed.
Okay, but not.
And it wasn't in there.
Directed to the users. Sure. It is. At first, I thought the beep just meant it's not an inventory, but it could also mean no, you scanned it wrong.
Yeah, either or. So if you scan it a couple times and it's still not coming up, then you know that it is incorrect. And
but
as a result, we found 3 or 4 different books on Sunday that had the full extension, but the extension that we had been given by Diamond was incorrect. Like, the price had changed and they hadn't changed the extension.
So this is slightly off topic, but we have those jumbo Superman and Batman pop vinyls.
Yep.
First of all, they are not on our website anywhere.
Huh. I'll have to look into that.
Second of all, I noticed at a point today that Batman was gone.
Okay.
So I said to Gina, did you ring up a giant Batman pop? She said, no. Like, uh-oh. So I start to wonder, what happened to that pop? So what's the first thing you would do?
I would probably text somebody who worked on Thursday to say, hey, did you sell it?
Oh, I would just look in the system to see if it was a zero quantity.
Sure.
It took me a solid 20 minutes to figure out what that fucking thing was called.
Yeah.
And how to find it. Because also, once it's just Pop Jumbo Batman, Pop Jumbo Superman.
Right.
You search, because I just pull up our website, Pop Superman, not in there. Because I was using our website, not Shopify product inventory.
I would use Shopify.
Because, I didn't know what to call it.
But I mean, there's more filters you can put on a search, which I like.
I couldn't, just looking, for whatever reason, it wasn't coming up.
Okay.
It wasn't until I got Superman, scanned him, then looked him up on the product side to find out what it was called.
Sure.
Still, if you type in Pop Jumbo Superman, comes up with nothing on our website.
Yeah.
But that is its entire name. Anyway, the Batman quantity was 0.
Okay.
So
somebody
sold it. I don't know when they sold it, but leaving a giant gaping hole on the shelf makes you get immediately worried,
Yeah, of course.
And Dal is currently looking at Pop Jumbo Superman.
I want to see why he's... Oh, yeah, active one channel. Why is he not... He's not on the
Is he just Facebook? Is that it?
He was only in point of sale. I just added it to the online store.
Okay.
There you go. So if anyone's listening to this, you can check out a Pop Jumbo Superman.
Yeah, but also, that'd be a nightmare to ship.
I think that's probably why we didn't list it originally online. Yeah. It was just because, God forbid, someone finds it and is like, oh, cool, ship it out. All right, great. I got to put this in a gigantic box because it's a Jumbo Superman.
Yeah. Good news is it is light.
Mm.
But it's an annoying thing where it just took time out of my day for no reason.
Sure.
For nothing. There was nothing I had to do, no bad consequence.
Sure.
A thing that was previous sold.
Sure.
And I wouldn't think of it either. Somebody bought a Pop Batman. I wouldn't notice until I'm going into the back room of Sidekicks and be like, oh, I got to fix that shelf.
Sure.
My point is, at some point, somebody who sold it, or who worked when it was sold, had to do that very thing and just left that empty space.
Oh, I see.
Maybe they didn't see it. I don't know.
Maybe they didn't see it.
You yourself are very good at never noticing burnt-out bulbs in Sidekicks.
Thanks. I assume that was a compliment.
Whenever I change a light bulb, I'll come in on a Tuesday and this bulb was burnt out. And you had no idea.
Sure. Depends on how long I'm in Sidekicks. I certainly, Sunday, Monday, I might not be in there a whole lot.
Yeah, I know. But I still, any day that I open,
sure.
As soon as I turn the lights on, I check all the lights to make sure all the lights are lit.
That is a very good thing you do.
But anyway, I'm just saying that was frustrating time that I didn't need to have spent.
Sure.
We are now mask optional, and we have been as a store for, I don't know.
A couple months.
Yeah. But now we ourselves are choosing to not wear masks.
Well, it depends on who it is and which days.
Yeah,
that's the optional part.
That's the optional part, yeah. Yeah. Some people do, some people don't.
Yeah.
Today, no masks.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Molly Jane plays it by ear and does it different days.
Yeah,
whatever.
I think with us, she's maskless, but with Stella, she's masked, I think.
Well, it's because girls have cooties.
That is what I've heard.
Yeah. So, people, because I deliberately changed our front sign to be very similar to how it was before.
Yep.
Because before it said, masks are strongly encouraged, which still means optional.
Right.
Now it says, face masks are now optional.
Yes.
But it's half Peter Parker, half Spider-Man, and the half Spider-Man half has a mask on.
Gotcha.
And the Peter Parker side doesn't.
Sure.
So it's the same backgrounds. It's the same. It took a little doing to match all that stuff
sure.
up. But anyway, it's fun to see people walk in and then, fumbling for a mask, then see us and go, oh, they don't have to anymore. They don't.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing that was happening a lot the last few weeks was people kind of not wearing masks and not assuming masks were required in businesses. And then they would see us in the mask, and sometimes I'd see it through the doorway where they'd go to pull on the door handle, and then they'd see me at the side counter in a mask.
Yeah.
And they'd sort of back up 4 steps and rifle through their pockets for the mask.
I mean, it's weird because you're just wearing an old Ben Cooper, Rocky plastic mask, but still it's a face mask. So
it's actually a Fonzie mask.
Oh,
I know they look very similar. I know.
They do.
I get that a lot. Believe me.
Yeah. I guess it's the
it's the hair
swoop in the front of the hair. Yeah. Yeah, it's still just a white guy with a little slit for a mouth.
Yep. That's me.
Because they never... I was going to say, they never did Rocky with the big puffy eye after the razor blade cut to release the blood.
I think that's definitely like...
That's the chase.
Ben Cooper probably... That's not where they're looking for different costumes.
The Ben Cooper Rocky 1-in-6 chase costume.
Yeah. One of the creepiest Halloween things that I've seen so far is a giant Wonder Woman pop head mask.
So they put
for
it
like a human being. It's gigantic. I mean,
do you put it over your head or
you put it? It's a half mask, so I think it's just the front.
Okay.
But like, the weirdest part is, so it's a pop face, so it's just like the two round eyes and like no nose or mouth or anything.
Yeah.
But there's like a kind of a weird oval of a
mesh
of a black mesh between the eyes, which is where like the human being's eyes are to look out of. But it's just creepy. It's just creepy to see a giant pop head on like a human body. It's definitely unnerving.
Yeah, that's why the necks are all bobbleheads for the Disney products, because you have no neck strength to hold those up.
I guess.
They're so big. They're so big and annoying. But you know what is little and the opposite of annoying?
I don't.
Little libraries.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about. Those little buildings all around the city.
They look like little birdhouses.
Yeah,
but they're
little
for books.
barns. Yeah, exactly. We have started putting graphic novels in those in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And they go immediately.
immediately. Like within 24 hours.
Yeah. And at first I was wondering if it's just like one person taking everything.
Right.
We sticker all the books we put in.
Sure.
And in case you're wondering where these come from, a lot of times these are damaged. I was going to say horribly, then badly. Damaged books we've gotten from Penguin Random House.
Yeah, totally readable. They got all the pages. They're just, we couldn't sell them, basically.
Yeah, dented corners, whatever. Yeah. But PRH says, hey, destroy or donate them. We're like, okay, we'll donate them.
We'll donate.
So we slap Challenger stickers on the back and throw them in these little libraries. And as to my knowledge, no one has come in and said, oh my God, I got one of your books at this library.
I wouldn't expect them to.
Well, I mean, hopefully that drives somebody to the store.
Sure, but I wouldn't expect them to.
And I was always wondering if it was like the same person who took all of them or whatever. But Andrew said he'd read a study where it was found that the majority of graphic novels that were taken from libraries or giveaways go to shelters.
Okay.
Like people take them and bring them to shelters.
Fine.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Honestly, I don't even care if they all went to like one family.
Yeah.
Like if one family needed the books and they took them all, like fine. I don't feel like policing who gets what from a free library.
Well, it's funny you say policing because there was, I don't remember where, and this is another Andrew story where he found out that, or he read another article where there was in a mixed community where the minorities were taking multiple books out of the book libraries. Some white families called the police. Because they were taking more than one book.
Oh my God.
And what did the police do?
I assume they took the little library away.
No, they arrested the people for stealing. Yeah.
That's
happy
even
ending?
Worse?
No, happy ending, those police were fired.
Yay. That was a horrible story.
I don't remember where this happened, but the next time you, listener, if you want to know when Andrew is working, you can ask him. But anyway, it's neat to drop them off because like I'm curating everything so far because I don't want to put anything adult there, you know?
Yeah.
Like I haven't put any Sandman graphic novels even. Immortal Hulk makes me a little nervous.
Sure.
But also nobody else does that. Like there's a lot of, I'm not saying everyone is filled to the brim with copies of 50 Shades of Grey,
Sure.
But that was also like the most secondhand or used bookshop book in the world. Like
everybody bought it, no one wanted to own it.
The year after it came out,
like
shops had like 30 copies or whatever. I remember seeing photos of just stacks, like you could build furniture.
There was like an REM or a U2 album that kind of had the same thing, where it was like every used CD store had just like piles of these.
Yeah,
like it was valueless.
People did not like Fables of the Reconstruction.
No, it was one of the later ones.
I mean, I was going to go with Monster, but I thought it was more
Monster.
Fun. Yeah,
I think it was Monster.
So if you are in the area of Challengers, not we actually talked to the little library people about getting one right in front of the store. but there's nowhere to put it because where those trees are, where the ground is, because you have to cement it in on a 4x4 fence post. While the one in front of the store has been broken for years, it's not supposed to be broken.
Oh.
And it's not supposed to have access to the dirt in it.
I see.
And there's no other way to secure it.
Right.
And I was willing to find a free newsstand type of receptacle, like you used to be able to find downtown on the corners, like all those giveaway magazines or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I don't want to have to bring
Illinois Entertainer was that one?
Yeah. But I don't want to have to bring it in and out every day.
No, for sure.
Like, can we just
and the whole point is that
tree?
you'd want it to be available around the clock. So when people, if they was early in the morning or late at night or whatever, they could get at the books. Like, you didn't want it to be just like
only while we're
6 hours a day.
Yeah. And I like the idea of it being an exchange type of thing where it's like, oh, you can drop off something you don't want and pick up something else.
Right.
I don't know. The idea of book exchanges come up often as a thing that stores do.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of effort.
We'll keep thinking about it.
We will. We're always thinking about things. Like little libraries. It's a new month, and it's now time to thank our Patreon supporters, including our annual patrons, Becca Hilburn and Joseph Coco, Brent Helt, Dal's mom Diane Bush, Jose Villagomez, Josh Crowley of Westfield Comics, Michael Romanenko, Mike Loveday, our patrons who have created their own tier, Andrew, Drew Troit Comics, Aaliyah, Christine McChrystal, Bridget K. Neville, Chris Burton, our other generous patrons from the Say My Name pledge level, Arun Singh, Ben-Hur Benedict Calaguas, Bradley Rader, Braden, Managed Comics Own, Brian Garside, Christopher Haith, President of the Brian Garside Fan Club, Django Boren, Drew Triner and Ashley Edwards, Challengers Reservist, Fallon Mackerline, my brother, George Brower, Heidi D., Jacob Sorelli of Kamikaze, Jason Wood from 11 O'Clock Comics, Josh Trigg, Mark Hammond of Aw Yeah Comics, Margie, Keith, Logan, and Malcolm Springham, Marcuson Nasso, Matt Armstrong, our bestest wrestling watching pal, Michael Lee, Mitchell Davies of All-Star Comics in Melbourne, Australia, Morgan Kaiju Perry, Nick Baldwin, my longtime pal, Robert Burns, Ron Payne, Ryan Alcock, Ryan Hecht, Sean Bowers, Tad Eggleston and Johnny Williams, Thomas Nagovin of Century Guild, Walt Grogan. And if you want to hear your name thanked on this very podcast once a month, head over to patreon.com/challengers and pledge at the $5 Say My Name level. And a big thank you to all our other patrons at the various other pledge levels. I heard an announcement yesterday for a new Tim Seeley book that is really, I think, kind of neat.
Okay.
Called The Roadie.
Okay.
It's about an old metal roadie. Back in the heyday, he was at the top of his game.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, heavy metal music always has a reputation of being summoning demons and to converse with the devil and all these horrible things.
Sure.
Well, inadvertently, it's true. But a lot of these bands had no idea what they were doing. Okay. Like, they're just putting, we'll put backward masking on to be cool. Well, they'd actually summon demons, and the roadie would have to go take care of it all. Okay. So now this is him, old and broken down and tired, but coming out of retirement because his daughter gets in some trouble. Okay. Like with some, he's back on the road, traveling the backwoods.
That's a good concept.
Yeah, I thought it was really neat, and the art looks really good.
Who's the artist? Do you remember?
No, Fran someone, I don't know.
Okay. Fran Tarkenton.
I don't think it's Fran Tarkenton. It'd be amazing if it was. Second career.
That's
third career,
something I would lead with instead of Tim Seeley wrote,
Yeah. And it's got a fun logo. It's just basically like, I'm sure you've seen how most speaker cases or all the audio gear, when it's contained in one of the boxes, just has a stencil spray paint of the band name on it. Okay, just sure. It's just a stencil spray paint, The Roadie.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. It's a little weird to me that we're getting announcements in the beginning of June about books that won't be coming out until September. Like Creepshow. Mm-hmm. And people are like, I want Creepshow ready. Just deal with the stuff for August.
Sure.
Don't worry about September. Don't do that. Don't do that, places. And speaking of annoyances, DC adding books to their Dark Crisis checklist. Mm-hmm. It's one thing where we always hated when Marvel would only give you 2 months at a time of a 5-month story. They'd give you a 2-month checklist.
Right.
Like, hey, here's the first 2 months of this 5 to 6 month storyline. So you have no idea what's coming next.
Yeah, and frequently you wouldn't know if a number 1 that was coming out in month 2, is that a one-shot, or is that a 3-issue series, or how long do some of these books run? Because Marvel frequently would just list number 1s and not tell you, like, of how many.
DC gave us a full checklist for the entire summer of Dark Crisis. You know, all, 7 issues, what comes out what month, which issues of Flash. Is that the new one or the old one?
That's the old one. That's the one they originally printed.
Yeah, and okay, so,
one that is going on sale this week.
And it goes up through what month?
It goes through the end, December.
Through December. It goes through December, the entire length of that crossover. And it's not just, Dark Crisis 1, Dark Crisis 2, it's all the issues of Flash that cross over. It's Dal, give me something.
Dark Crisis Young Justice, all the Dark Crisis Worlds Without a Justice League one-shots. Something called Dark Crisis Warzone.
Yeah, great. So we knew this ahead of time, so when people say, put me down for everything, we know what it is. No, they've just shoved more things into it.
Yeah, there's an additional Flash issue, an additional I Am Batman issue, an additional Swamp Thing one-shot.
Like, come on.
Yep, not great.
Come on. And it's literally impossible for us to add people for those because just because you're down for Dark Crisis, we're not pulling you everything in it unless you say, I want everything.
Yeah.
And then we don't know that everything is, and we don't know who's already been put down for, if you just got that, you wanted the Tom King, Chris Burnham one because it's Tom King and Chris Burnham, we can't look at that and think, oh, you want everything.
I wouldn't, yeah.
But, if there's a point where you put everything in, like, what would you look at to be like, who needs these new things?
Yeah, the only thing I've been doing as far as, like, the copy overs for Dark Crisis stuff is people who are getting Dark Crisis, I've been adding them for the Worlds Without a Justice League one-shots.
Yeah, and we've heard from people that they don't want that.
Right. And as always, if we add it, you've got a few weeks to take it off your list.
Yep.
Either manually through Managed Comics or by emailing us and telling us you don't want it.
Or also manually via Managed Comics.
Yes. But yeah, it's unnecessarily convoluted. The amount of... this is the thing I think about a lot, and it's so specific to the comics industry. The idea of having a subscription to something that comes out regularly. Like, there's no other business I can think of that needs to do that, where you might be following a story, or it might go to different places. Like, you can have a subscription to Netflix, and you just pay Netflix, and there's Netflix stuff. You can order things through websites, and you can pre-order items through any number of websites. But the idea of, I want you to pull this for me, to set this aside, or even to bill me on a regular basis, every time one of these comes out, I can't think of another company that does that. Like,
would it be like subscribing to each episode of The Boys individually for Amazon Prime?
That's the thing. You can buy a season of a TV show on like Apple TV or whatever. I don't know if they still do, but they used to. Through iTunes, you would just subscribe to a season. But then the problem becomes again, like, okay, well, what if that season suddenly includes an additional episode of another thing, or a separate miniseries entirely? What if you thought you were getting DC versus Vampires, and then they took a couple months off and released 2 one-shots in the middle, and then when they came back for their final 6 issues, added a completely separate 6-issue miniseries to run alongside issues 7 through 12?
Can I just say that...
How would you do that?
That new DC Vampires one-shot, Killers?
Hunters was the one that just came out.
No.
Killers is the next one.
Right, I'm talking about Killers.
Okay.
It's important to the story. I don't like the art.
I read Hunters, and I really hated it.
Yeah.
It's the first thing in the DC versus Vampires catalog that I was like, this was badly written, and I don't think it even understands what's been going on in the DC versus Vampire story. Like, basically how it treats the idea of what happens when a hero becomes a vampire feels drastically at odds with the entire first 6 issues.
It's the same writer, though.
It is, and that's what's so baffling about it. If you had told me it was a fill-in by a completely different, like, DC writer, I'd be like, yeah, I can absolutely see it. I wish they would have given them more notes about what the DC versus Vampire series was doing. Like, without getting too much off on a tangent, DC versus Vampire sets up the idea that basically as soon as you become a vampire, you become 100% irredeemably evil.
Yeah.
Utterly dedicated to the vampire cause, no matter how heroic you were before. But the one-shot, Hunters, has a character who's basically like, no, they weren't indoctrinated into the vampire cause, so they're still a heroic vampire. And it's like, so more than Wonder Woman? More than, like, Green Lantern? What's happening?
See, here's the thing. When you are turned by a vampire, if you then drink that vampire's blood, you're fully immersed evil vampire. But you can still be turned and not drink your sire's blood, so you don't have the vampire mentality. You still have to drink blood to survive, but so long as you don't drink human blood, you're okay.
Is this a supernatural thing?
No, it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Have you
not
watched it?
With that.
Okay.
The comic book?
Yeah.
I don't read that.
Not Buffy 79.
97. Definitely not Buffy 79.
I would read Buffy 79. It's about Robin Wood's mom.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
sure.
Anyway.
Anyway.
My point is, Killers, at least, like, you got Ada Schmidt doing the art for DC Vampires. Excellent stuff. The Hunters one, fine. The art was fine.
Yeah, I liked it okay. I don't remember who did the art.
Killers is... I'm not saying I don't like that artist. I'm saying it's not a fit for this. It's all very, like, exaggerated and bony, and, like, all the women have giant hip bones and pencil-thin waists, and, like, all of the monsters are huge hulking monsters.
Oh, okay.
It's just... And, I mean, there's a major thing that happens, and I understand why you are telling this story, but just the art... This is the first one that I feel bad for being like, we're pulling this for anyone who gets this series.
Even Hunters, which I didn't like, it is kind of important to what's going on in the story.
Agreed.
And I gotta assume Killers is going to be the same way.
It is, but I'm just like...
But yeah, I mean, to get back to the point I was making before, it is...
Vampires are bad. Thank you, Dale.
No, they're not. That's the thing. It's the idea of subscribing to something in the comics market is so absolutely impossible to deal with. And it's a thing that there are no good practices on it because no other market has to deal with it. You can't look at how another company or another industry deals with it because there aren't any. Like, and in my brain, I'm like, they were the smart ones. They never devised a system this consistently and increasingly broken, where it is hard to follow stories, where it's difficult to monetize it, basically, because it is kind of all over the place. The story sprawls in a really weird way, and all the things that, you know, are addictive about superhero fiction, for example, that stories kind of go forever and that they sprawl to different places and they include different characters, makes, like, signing people up for stuff impossible. And why I frequently think about the idea of, tell me what issues you want and nothing else.
Yeah, fair.
Like, the not to keep going off on tangents, but, like, the Banner of War stuff is insane. If someone was signed up for Thor, and now suddenly they also have to get at least 2 issues of Hulk and a one-shot issue that is both a Thor and a Hulk story. Like, how on earth would you ever explain that to someone in another industry? How would they make sense of it?
What's even worse is if you were signed up for Thor, you get a Thor issue that doesn't have Thor. It's got Odin and
I mean,
Banner.
We order these things non-returnable, sight unseen.
Yeah.
They're not telling us, by the way, you can skip this issue. No company would ever on the face of the earth tell us that. So you get it in and you pull it for people and then you go, oh, there was a book recently we pulled for all of our subscribers because the way it was written up in the solicitations was very like, this is the end of this story. You got to make sure everyone reads it. And we get it in and I read it and I go, God, I read this story and I didn't think this was valuable. But it's like, it's too late. We already pulled it for everybody. We ordered it thinking it was important. And that burned us on something before where we ate it. I think it was one of the Empire, both of the Empire Aftermath issues.
Yeah.
We ended up not pulling it for people after ordering it, thinking we were going to pull it for everyone, and then we looked at it and went, God, no, there's no reason. Like,
Nope.
These are just, like, weird epilogues that don't really, like, they're separate stories that don't really, they're just Fantastic Four issues, or kind of Avengers issues. So maybe for those, but I wouldn't just pull them because they're like $6. Yeah, I almost daily I think about the idea of like, just here's a catalog, tell me what you want. Every month. Just do that every month. Only pre-orders.
But that doesn't work with the system we have currently.
You could do it.
Can you?
I mean, I don't know how
Look,
we would...
back in the day, the first time I signed up for subscriptions
Yeah.
at the comic shop I was going for, you would turn in your copy of Advance Comics every month, listing every issue you wanted.
Yeah. I mean, that's how, I think I mentioned this, like, I think that's how DCBS does it.
Yeah.
You just go through the catalog and you say these books.
Yeah.
I don't know if they even do subscriptions, and if they don't, they're smart. Yeah, I mean, that idea of just, I mean, talking to Brian at Managed Comics and being like, can you turn off subscriptions for our site? And just saying, like, yeah, here, the catalog goes up every month, you got a month to look through it, pre-order anything you want, any, like, you know, open order variant, any graphic novel, any comic book. If you don't pre-order it, I'm going to assume you don't want it, and that's it. The end. Like,
Do you know how much, especially the first couple months, it would be, can you get me this? I missed this. Can you get me this?
no,
You're going to hold the line?
probably not. Like, that's
Yeah.
the thing that sucks, is that there's always going to be sob stories. There's always going to be well-meaning people who are like, I actually have an excuse for this, and it's like, well, how much do you want to be, you know, intractable on that? Do you just want to be like, no, absolutely not. Like, I'm sorry. Like, the order's closed. Like, it's like we're not going to get for the rack. If we didn't carry rack copies, there's your deniability.
Yeah.
Like, there's any number of places that I pre-order stuff from where they'll just say pre-order's closed. And you can be like, oh my God, I didn't know. Or, oh, I meant to do this and I didn't get around to it. And the pre-orders are closed because they can't get any more.
Yeah, that's it.
Like,
it's
the
done.
manufacturer closed the window. They're not ordering extras of this import toy or whatever to sit in their inventory hoping somebody wants to buy it. That's it. They opened pre-orders and then they closed them. And that's how most businesses do it.
I was going to make this analogy before, but I started knowing that you name a product, you can get a subscription service to it. You can subscribe to Bacon of the Month or Wine of the Month or,
Sure.
you know, Dark Beer of the Month or whatever. There's all sorts of gift subscriptions or whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So my joke was going to be, you can't go to Jewel and say, hey, can you sign me up for a loaf of white bread every time a new one comes out? And then one month they're like, oh, also we have this wheat for you.
Yeah, I mean,
it's part of the bread manufacturing system, so you get this wheat as well.
and again, like, you can do, I mean, like I mentioned before, you can do renewing subscriptions for places. Like, there's like healthcare products or food products that I just get a renewing subscription to. The trick for those is that
Razor blades.
I don't get the new one every month. I just tell them on a regular basis, like every 4 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever, like, send me another one of those. If someone wanted to do that, if they were just like, send me a copy of Saga Volume 1 every month, I'm sure we could figure that out. There's a plugin for Shopify where we could make that happen. But that's not what this is. This is, again, it's half recurring and half predictive. And that's what makes it so insane, is those are two different things. And trying to understand the logic of both of those, when basically the idea of how much of this story do you want to read is so subjective that asking stores to kind of predict that for their entire customer base is asking too much.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's the whole market now with a lot of subscription stuff, is the thing of like, you know, we don't hear, oh, I should have told you I wasn't interested in this. What we hear is, oh, I don't want this. Always with the tone of like, why would you think that? And it's like, because I got 50 people subscribed to this book, and I don't know which ones want it, which ones don't, because they don't tell me.
Yep.
You know,
and they don't read their emails.
They don't read
Full
their emails.
circle. Thanks for. Oh wait,
Yeah,
no, we're not.
that
done.
was last week's.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm going to complain about this forever because the industry's broken in such a way where it's only becoming more of an aggravation as weeks go on. But yeah, I sincerely think about changing everything over to just pre-orders. because that's what we ended up telling people who were doing like open order variants, where they would frequently say, oh, I want the A cover most months, but this month I want the B cover. And the next month I'm going to want the A cover again. It's like, if you do that often enough, I'm going to tell you only pre-order that book. Because the ability to keep switching it back and forth is not how any system is built, really. And coding the logic of that is impossible, because it is basically full-blown AI at that point. That's what you're asking for, is a system to understand how you think and think in the same way. That's not going to happen. That's never going to happen. So it becomes incumbent upon the person who's doing the ordering to just be hyper-specific. I want this one this month. Next month I want this one. And so on. Forever.
Yep. I could be talked into that.
I really think about it a lot.
Yeah.
There's people who would definitely, like, kind of screw over, but I don't know. At that point, maybe the subscription service isn't for them. Like, if you can't be bothered once a month to say, I want the new issue of Saga, like, just come in and buy it then. I don't know. Come in whenever you want and hope it's still on the shelf. I don't know what to tell you. Again, every other business has much more strict rules than that.
Right.
There are, if you want specific kinds of shoes, you don't just have a month to tell a store that you want them. You have a window of a very limited amount of time.
Hours, even.
Hours, and you need to know in advance, and you got to follow different accounts.
I, myself, got caught up in wanting a specific shoe. Then I had to pay attention to when it dropped. However, it's still available now, so it's not like it was that big
I've
of a
missed
deal.
pre-orders for Kamen Rider figures because by the time I heard about it later that day, the store had already run out of slots for it, and they just were not offering any more copies. You got to go source it somewhere else. Maybe another store has it. Maybe they don't. Yeah, I think offering people the ability of an entire month under which to look through a free online catalog and tell us with zero payment up front what they want us to order for them is incredibly lenient and very flexible. That's what I think.
Well, you would think that things in the comic book industry, specifically run by people who at some point loved the medium and wanted to be part of it and wanted to really put out quality work and make the product that they're responsible for stand out, would be easier to deal with them than it actually is. And in this regard, everyone who's listening to this knows we have an exclusive cover for Do a Powerbomb #1 from Image Comics.
Still available for pre-order on our website.
Yep, available now. If you go to linktr.ee/challengerscomics, it'll be right at the top. You can get it there. You can go to challengerscomics.com. It's right there.
Yeah, it's like the second thing from the top, I think.
Yeah, I just wanted to push our link tree because it has so many
I didn't want to overwrite
links
Sure.
to it. Part of doing exclusive cover is we get our logo on the back. Not big or anything, not huge, just above the barcode on the back. Mm-hmm. And while Daniel Warren Johnson did the cover art for us and Mike Spicer colored it, he's not the layout guy. He's not the designer for Image, right? He's not the one laying out the cover, putting the barcode in the back, putting logo in, whatever. So we had to send a copy logo in. Fine, we did. They wanted it again. Fine, sent it. And then they gave us proof. They gave us proof back for the logo.
Yeah.
And it was the front cover image, a purple logo, a black cover with our logo in red with a little ghostly white outline right above the barcode. The barcode has a price. Cover price of $3.99. We're selling this book for $14.99 for reasons we've outlined before. Yeah. Our cost for a single issue is way more than $3.99.
Yeah, we literally could not sell it for $3.99 without taking a huge loss.
So I emailed back to Image and said, "Hey, it looks great. Can you take off the price?"
Right.
They emailed back with, "No, we can't, but we're also changing the back cover."
Which, real quick, I'm just going to jump out on the we can't part. I got an Image comic book, the Vaniversary variant for 8 Billion Genies, which does not have a price anywhere.
Yeah.
So the idea that they can't do it is one of those, since when?
I asked them to not do that for their cover, and they did it.
Yeah. It was because the original Image had a little price on it, and it's like, well, we don't know what we're paying for this, so we prefer not to have a price on it because we don't know if we can honor that price.
And we were told that, I'm not sure if we can do that, I'll have to check. And they checked, and they could.
Yeah.
This time we're told, no, it has to stay on.
Yeah, pretty weird.
And I'm just going to reiterate, we are not dealing with Daniel Warren Johnson at all. This has nothing to do with him.
This is not a DWJ story or a Mike Spicer story.
So they're like, okay, the prices stay on. But good news, we changed the back cover because it was black. We're worried about color rub from all those comics stacked up in a case. You know, we don't want the heavy black ink to be rubbing off on the front cover of the issue beneath it in the box. So we changed it to, they changed it to the purple that matches the purple in the logo. Mm-hmm. Right?
It's like a really bright, like fluorescent, almost pinkish purple.
Right. Yeah. So when you put a red logo on top of that, it looks like shit.
Yeah, it's illegible and it looks like garbage.
Yeah. And I immediately said, hey, that's bad. Our logo is now invisible. Mm-hmm. So then, and this boggles my mind, a graphic designer sent back to us.
Well, I think we had said, like, hey, can we get it on, like, a red maybe? Because the red would maybe, like, make it look a little better. It would match our store logo.
I think the red was later because it's a red logo. We wouldn't want a red logo on a red cover.
Well, it's because the logo had, like, white in it. So the thought was, like, well, it's like a red with a white outline. So with the white outline, it would look okay. And we asked for a red, and they said no because it needs to match the color of the
logo on the front.
Logo on the front. The designer is clear on that.
Which you offered it to us black first, and black is not in the logo.
No.
So again, that doesn't make sense. So what they did was they put our red logo with a white outline in a little white rectangle and stuck that on the back.
Yeah, it looked pretty amateurish.
So desktop publishing, and it looked like, who? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, like this would be acceptable. Like this is a major company. Like they have a design department.
And all this was happening at like Saturday night around 10 p.m.,
right.
Which is so weird to me that we're getting this then. Or maybe it was a Friday night. But anyway, it was a
few days before we went to press. Like that was the thing.
I want to say it was a Saturday, and it was at least 8 p.m. for them.
Yeah.
So I said, what if I gave you a completely different logo that was just solid white? Mm-hmm. And then we're like, can you put that on a red background?
Okay.
So I sent them the white logo, and they said, oh, that's going to work great. No, it's got to stay purple.
Okay, great.
Whatever.
Yeah, by that point, it was just like, at least you can read the logo. It's fine.
Yeah, and also it's a much more simplified logo because there was no embossing. There was no depth to it. It's just, there's no faded outline.
It's just the 2D like, stamp version. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, you are a major company whose whole purpose is design work.
You'd think.
Just the noises I'm making right now.
Yeah.
Just putting a little white
evening.
Box around the logo.
Just drop in a white box.
That's what I would expect a 12-year-old graphic designer to do. Like, we can solve this. Let's just put it around. Like, Jesus, at least if you had done it as a straight line all the way across the book as like some sort of graphic imagery, fine. Anything other than here's just a white box above the barcode.
Just the fact that the one before that was like, it's completely garish because you have this red logo on this bright pink purple background, which right there is like, nope. And then on top of that, because of the way the colors bleed, like you couldn't even see, like you couldn't make sense of what the logo was.
The only thing that popped was the white in the background of the Challenger C.
Yeah, it was bad. Like it was like, what is this? And the fact that like any human being with two eyeballs looked at that and went, yep, this is great. Send it to press. Was like, God, really?
And all this because I said, please get rid of the price tag. I even said, change it back to black. No, we can't because of the color rub.
Uh-huh.
You said that you were doing that to us as a favor, and I said, we don't care about it.
You could originally, when you sent us the proof.
Yeah.
And then 2 proofs later, you're like, no, I'm sorry, we can't.
And also, do you want me to go through and historically show you every image cover with a black back cover?
Yeah, like basically every we can't just sounded like...
We don't want to.
We would prefer not to, and we're just going to say no. And it's like, I think you can. I think you have a bunch of times before. I hate being that guy.
I feel terrible. I'll tell you what.
I was that guy at a movie theater where I was looking to get the Doctor Strange popcorn bucket and soda cup combo, and I didn't see it anywhere, so I didn't ask. But then someone in the lane to the left of me was getting one, so I asked the person ringing me up. I'm like, "Can I get the Doctor Strange combo?" And they're like, "I'm sorry, we don't have those." And I just had to go. Literally, I just went, "That guy's getting one," and then it was like, "Oh, let me investigate it." And it's like It seemed like a situation where someone was just misinformed, where the employee was told that they didn't have it when clearly they did, or they weren't maybe supposed to sell it, but they had started selling it, so they sold it to me. But I dislike being in that situation where it's like, I don't want to tell you how to do your job, but I've seen people do your job before, so I think I know how it's done.
This really isn't comic related, but I had a doctor appointment last night in the suburbs. It was, I'm an old man now. You know, at a certain age, you get certain tests. Mm-hmm. You get colonoscopies.
In just a couple weeks, Patrick will be turning 35 years old.
Oh, man, I can't believe it.
Mid-30s.
So I had a colonoscopy in the beginning of May, and they told me, as I was leaving after the appointment, they said, hey, you know, you don't got to come back for 5 years. But also, there's a follow-up appointment with the doctor. Okay. Well, I got the procedure done in the city of Chicago, fairly close to here.
Yeah.
Yet, I had to go out to Lombard.
During rush hour.
To Villa Park. Dale, do you remember where you lived right before this?
I do, yes.
It was right there.
Oh, wow. How's that place look?
It's called Summit Digestive.
Okay.
Because it's on Summit, which is what's also known as Cass Avenue.
Wow.
So you know where the Pete's Fresh Market is?
Yeah.
Right behind that.
Wow.
So that's where I was.
Okay. Did you go to Pete's afterwards?
Did I go what?
Did you go to Pete's Fresh Market afterwards?
Oh, I thought you said peace. I'm like, what? I did not. No, because I wanted to get the fuck home.
Sure.
Because
it's like an hour to get there?
It was an hour to get there. My appointment is 6:45. They didn't see me until 8:15.
They didn't see you until 8:15?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, that's right. I wasn't talking to you last night.
No.
About this. I was talking to George and Bob.
Sure.
They didn't see me till 8:15. Also...
So it took an hour to get there, and then they made you wait an hour and a half to see them?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And then I had to see a nurse first, and she's taking all these vitals, and I said, why are you taking my vitals just for a follow-up? And then she's like, well, because we have to.
To do what?
Also, your blood pressure's kind of high, and it's getting higher.
Yeah.
And also,
That's
she
called
was
aggravation.
the second person this week to be like, hey, look at your tattoos. What's your favorite Marvel movie? Did you see Doctor Strange? Hey, you know what? Do your job. Her office was a glass office in the middle of this room. Mm-hmm. First of all, I get there, and I'm in a nicer waiting room upstairs. Half hour into waiting, and it was full. Ton of people.
Wow, weird.
Half hour into waiting, that same nurse comes in and says, you can all come wait downstairs now. There's more room.
I guess it was crowded because they had everyone from all over the Chicagoland area going to this one place out in Lombard.
Like literally, as I was waiting, a guy signed in after me who was there for the exact same type of appointment at the exact same time.
Unbelievable.
He also had a 6:45 appointment. And this place is pin drop quiet. They have a TV. It's not on. So anybody who is having a consult with the doctor or somebody who is in with the nurse, you hear everything that's happening.
That was what the waiting room was like when you're having your procedure done.
Was it really?
Yeah. Like, I had to go downstairs to do the AEW Forbidden Door stuff with MJ. Because, like, it was so quiet there, and there were, like, 12 people, where I'm like, I can't have this phone conversation in this echoey, cavernous room where no one is making a noise. Like, I've got to go downstairs where at least there's a little bit of buffering and baffling.
Yeah, well, being in the basement of this building, I skipped a whole lot of these stores. There's no cell reception down there.
Great.
I could not be on my phone.
Great.
And I did not bring a book because I thought I was going to be in and out.
Yeah, you were just going there for results. It's like if you got like a blood draw or something at your doctor's office, you go back, if you have to go back, and they're like, well, here's the chart, here's the numbers, and here's what it means, and here's what you need to change. And then you go.
I felt really bad about the woman who needed an emergency endoscopy because of how normally they're booked up in endoscopies till July, but hers is so urgent they're having her come back this Sunday when they don't even do them on Sundays.
Wow.
Just because of how bad she needs it, how serious this is. And that everybody in the waiting room now knows how serious it is.
That's great.
Anyway, I was that guy to the nurse.
Okay.
And the doctor just wanted to explain to me why he chose 5 years, because that's not a normal waiting number.
Really?
Well,
five seems like perfectly normal.
No, it's either 3 or 10.
Okay.
He doesn't believe in 10. He thinks 10 is too long because something can crop up unexpectedly anywhere.
Is he just subtly telling you he doesn't think you'll live 10 years?
No, it's weird because he who has no history of any problems or whatsoever, he's like, I get done every 3 because I'm a coward.
He just likes to.
I go, no, a coward doesn't want to go through all the prep work. By the way, he did compliment my prep work. He said that he could see everything because of how thorough it was.
Sure.
And all I said was, I just did what you told me to do.
Yeah, I guess people don't normally.
Yeah. Anyway, I was very angry at the whole thing, but I couldn't
Sure.
be mad at the doctor because he was going out of his way to explain things to me, and I thought,
Great.
this could have been in an email, but I did have some other follow-up questions based off of family history that he answered and all of it. Like, all of it, this whole thing was, everything's fine, don't worry.
Great.
Come back in 5 years.
And,
Like, this could have been an email.
yeah, and the fact that they make you go out there for it means you kind of were worried a little bit beforehand, because it's like,
Because I didn't have to go last time.
what is it that I have to go out to this office an hour away to talk to someone in person? Like, that feels like it's important. Like, and then it's not. Like, that's, of course your blood pressure's up. Of course it is.
I had one specific question I asked both the nurse and the doctor, and they gave me two vastly different answers.
Nice.
And I'm like, I'm trusting that guy. Because after it was done, the nurse said, well, also make sure you ask the doctor as well. Like, she's like, well, make sure you ask the doctor. I'm like, I'm seeing the doctor? Like, I thought we just did this now.
Right.
So I had to go back out and wait a little bit more. And then she brings me into an exam room. And then she's changing the paper on the exam table.
Sure.
She's like, this is just in case he wants to examine you. I'm like, he just did all that. What? Why is there even the potential of another? There wasn't. He just wanted to talk.
Oh my god.
And even in the room, they had this like standing monitor, like a giant iPad on a stand. It's like, hey, why don't you learn while you're here? You know, here, go through this.
No, thanks.
Fine. Press this. Watch this video. Oh, no signal. We're in the basement. It can't be done.
Great.
Yeah. So anyway, the whole reason I brought that story up was because I was that guy.
Yeah, sometimes you have to tell people how to do their job, and that sucks. Like, it's embarrassing for me as it may be as frustrating for them.
When the woman was in the room changing the paper on the table, she said, who's your favorite superhero? And I said, Captain America. And she said, Captain America? I'm like, why? Who's yours? Jean Grey. Fine, yours is a great answer.
Yeah.
Why is yours Captain America? None of your business.
Because he hates mutants.
But I did pitch her on House of X.
Yeah, there you go.
Because she used to love comics, hasn't read them in a while.
House of X.
Loves Jean Grey.
10.
I'm like, great.
Completely backward.
Well, whatever. Get it. Her brother has it.
Sure, there you go.
Fine. Very weird. And part of me is like, all right, so I got home around 9. Ironically, I had tried to call my dad to be like, hey, I'm going to be in your neighborhood. Do you want to get dinner around 7:30? I wouldn't have gotten to him until 8:45.
Jeez.
So, I mean, he didn't answer his phone. So there you go. Right to voicemail, which is apropos. But anyway, so I had to leave at like 5:30, and I got home at 9 for literally 4 minutes with the doctor.
Yep. That's always how it is.
And Bob was like, on your day off even? I'm like, well, it had to be my day off.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's like, everything's fine. Whatever. It's not how I would have chosen to spend my night.
No.
But yes.
Good news is better than bad news, but still.
Aggravation is still my first instinct.
It is.
When my time, in my opinion, is being wasted. Mm-hmm. Speaking of wasting time, we're not going to waste your time next week, because as of right now, there is no podcast for next week.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not going to be in town.
Yes.
I'm going to be busy. It's on you.
Oh, no. I don't know if I know the process to make sure that people can hear the episode.
I mean, I'll be home in time to upload it late Sunday night, but I wouldn't be able to get it to patrons.
That doesn't help patrons or anything.
Right. But that just means there's no content for the week.
Maybe.
We'll see.
We'll
I'm
see.
not going to be around next week, so it'll be a mystery even to me. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.